Hope that somebody will come along and say there's money in this, let's support Meghan and her as ever brand.
Oh, so hence the sold out, sold out, sold out.
Well, that's also distribution
Is that what
failure,
you think?
isn't it?
No, it's not distribution failure. She hasn't got the money to make it in the first place.
The courtroom was tense. Harry sat frozen, every muscle stiff, as if the walls themselves were closing in. Meghan's face, usually composed, betrayed a flicker of panic, a crack in her carefully built image. Across the room, Tom Bower's eyes didn't waver. He held evidence that could shake the royal family to its core. Weeks of secrecy, hidden documents, whispers behind closed doors, all leading to this moment. What nobody expected was the bombshell about Meghan's divorce contract.
Apparently we've bought or moved house maybe 10, 12 times. We've apparently divorced maybe 10, 12 times as well. So everyone's just like, what?
Details that could change everything we thought we knew. The truth wasn't just shocking, it was explosive, and it cut deeper than any headline. Are you ready to see how Harry might have unknowingly stepped into a trap? One that could unravel his world forever? Stay with us as we reveal the secrets hidden behind closed doors, the twists no one saw coming, and the revelations that could rewrite their story. Don't blink, you won't want to miss this. The hidden divorce clause. When most people hear the word divorce, they picture lawyers arguing over settlements, a few signed papers, and maybe a handshake at the end. But what Tom Bower uncovered in Meghan's divorce contract was nothing like that. Beneath the official language, buried in dense legal pages, there were clauses so unusual they could affect not only financial matters, but personal decisions in ways Harry might never have imagined. These weren't standard conditions. They were carefully crafted rules and arrangements that suggested someone had thought through every possible scenario before signing. Bower's investigation revealed that these clauses weren't just legal formalities. They were a strategy, to a blueprint that seemed designed to give Meghan certain advantages that weren't obvious at first glance. Some of the clauses limited what Harry could do with shared assets. Others suggested ways in which Meghan could retain influence over decisions long after the divorce. Even seasoned court insiders whispered that these hidden rules could reshape responsibilities and authority in ways that would leave Harry exposed. The most shocking discovery was how some sections appeared to give Meghan leverage in situations Harry wouldn't even realize existed. Imagine signing a document you assume is standard, only to discover it allows the other person to gain unexpected power over your finances, your future, or even your personal choices. For someone like Harry, who has always tried to protect his family and reputation, this was more than a legal surprise. It was a personal shock. When Bower presented these findings in court, he didn't just read the text. He explained each clause's implications, walking the room through details that made everyone lean in closer. Journalists in the gallery described the atmosphere as tense, almost suffocating.
I was shocked to hear that. I mean, is that who he is?
Well, I think Harry is a very complicated person because he's not very intelligent and undoubtedly remains damaged by the early death of his mother, Diana. And he very foolishly blames the media.
Harry, who had always seemed calm under pressure, sat quietly, his hands clenched, absorbing what was being revealed. For Meghan, the evidence was a spotlight on her careful planning, and for the audience watching live, it was a glimpse behind a carefully constructed public image. Some clauses even hinted at possible financial maneuvers, suggesting control over property, earnings, and future business opportunities. For example, in certain provisions could allow Meghan to make decisions about assets that Harry might have assumed were shared or under his control. Legal experts called these unexpected leverage points, and Bower's explanation made it clear why they mattered. They could shift the balance of power in ways not visible to the public eye. The courtroom was stunned, not just by the content of the clauses, but by the implications. Harry wasn't just caught off guard. He was vulnerable in ways that went beyond money. Every detail exposed potential consequences that could affect his reputation, his decisions, and even his plans. Viewers around the world were seeing that a divorce, which might have seemed straightforward, could actually be a strategic game with very real consequences for both parties. But Bauer's presentation left no doubt. This was not ordinary paperwork. It was a carefully designed contract with hidden layers, and anyone reading it superficially would never understand the full impact. Could these clauses have been avoided, or were they inevitable? For the audience, the suspense was palpable, because what seemed like a simple divorce was turning into a story of strategy, power, and vulnerability, one that could change the way people saw Harry and Meghan forever. Harry's unexpected crisis. By the time Tom Bauer laid out the documents in the courtroom, Harry's usual calm, composed exterior had completely vanished. Anyone who had watched him in public appearances over the years knew that he could handle scrutiny, media pressure, and controversy with a measured demeanor. But here, in front of dozens of cameras, journalists, and legal officials, every line of the divorce contract seemed to hit him personally. His face, normally controlled and polite, revealed flashes of disbelief, worry, and even fear. Each clause Bauer highlighted wasn't just legal jargon, it appeared to point directly at Harry, creating a scenario he had never imagined and certainly never prepared for. It wasn't just about money. For Harry, this moment was deeply personal. The revelation that decisions he had assumed were mutual, fair, or straightforward might have been carefully planned to limit him was jarring. Friends close to him later described the scene as stunning and heartbreaking, emphasizing the mix of shock and emotional weight that Harry carried. Unlike public controversies, which he could navigate with statements or interviews, this was intimate. It was about trust, about a bond he had believed in, and the realization that part of that bond may have been compromised. The audience watching live could feel the tension radiating from the courtroom. Every camera focused on him as he processed the implications. The narrative wasn't just about contracts or numbers. It was about loyalty, about personal stakes, and about betrayal. Harry's reactions were raw, unfiltered, and unmistakably genuine. People watching could see the shift in his posture, the tightening of his hands, and the way his eyes darted between the documents and the journalist presenting them. For the world, it was a rare glimpse of vulnerability from someone who often appeared composed under immense scrutiny. What made this moment even more intense was the non-linear way Bauer presented the evidence. The clauses from years past were brought forward alongside recent legal maneuvers, creating a timeline that wasn't easy to follow at first. But each revelation added layers of tension. Harry had to process not just the words on paper, but their real-life consequences. Every restriction, every unexpected arrangement, and every financial tie laid bare a reality that could fundamentally change his understanding of his own life and decisions. The crisis wasn't only personal, it had ripple effects. Insiders and legal analysts watching the live feed noted that Harry's emotional response reflected more than surprise. It reflected the recognition that the rules of the game he thought he understood were no longer in his favor. Friends noted that the stress in that room must have been suffocating. Soot and Harry's silence at times spoke louder than any words he could have spoken. This wasn't a moment for quick rebuttals or public statements. It was a private reckoning in front of the entire world. Every gesture, every subtle reaction told the story of a man suddenly facing reality in its most uncompromising form. It was a test of emotional resilience, as much as it was a legal revelation. And for the audience, The drama was palpable. Watching Harry absorb these unexpected crises made it clear this wasn't just a legal matter. It was a deeply human moment, one that exposed vulnerabilities, highlighted the cost of trust, and left viewers questioning how anyone could navigate such a carefully constructed, high-stakes scenario. By the end of the session, Harry wasn't just facing a legal document, and he was facing the unraveling of assumptions he had carried for years. Every clause highlighted a challenge, every clause hinted at consequences, and every clause confirmed one undeniable truth. In this courtroom, he was completely exposed, navigating a crisis that was as personal as it was public, as emotional as it was strategic, and as shocking as it was real. The Palace Reaction. Buckingham Palace has always operated behind a veil of secrecy, where protocols, traditions, and carefully controlled statements govern every move. But when Tom Bower's revelations aired live, that carefully constructed order faced an unprecedented challenge. The details he exposed in Meghan's divorce contract weren't just legal technicalities. They had implications that could shake both the reputation of the palace and the foundations of its long-standing protocols. Legal analysts watching the proceedings noted immediately that these clauses, combined with the dramatic courtroom testimony, created a dilemma that went beyond personal affairs. It wasn't just a divorce, it was a potential constitutional and public relations crisis, something the palace had rarely confronted in such a raw and unfiltered manner. Insiders described the reaction as chaotic. Communications between palace officials and Harry's legal team reportedly spiked in intensity, with urgent messages, whispered instructions, and quick consultations occurring behind closed doors. Emergency meetings were called, and security protocols reviewed, and strategies for managing media coverage were rapidly adjusted. In the world of royalty, public statements are usually calculated, staged, and rehearsed, but this was different. The exposure was live, unexpected, and unmediated. Suddenly, the palace was not just responding to a potential scandal. It was reacting to a story unfolding in real time, where every word, every expression, and every pause could shape public perception. The silence from Buckingham Palace was telling. Historically, quietude has often been a tool for the monarchy, a way to manage controversies without inflaming media attention. But in this instance, the absence of immediate comment carried a different weight. Observers noted that in the absence of prepared statements, the palace's inaction felt almost like acknowledgement. And this was not simply protocol, it was a moment where institutional discipline collided with human unpredictability. The world could watch, analyze, and interpret every reaction or lack thereof. It was a rare glimpse behind the fortified walls of one of the most secretive institutions on the planet. For those following live coverage, it became evident that this was no ordinary royal event. The palace's staff were reportedly coordinating rapidly, yet the speed and complexity of Bower's revelations created a situation where calculated responses were nearly impossible. Every official knew that missteps in communication could lead to broader speculation, questioning of the monarchy's credibility, and potentially even constitutional debates. What had been carefully managed in private legal filings had now transformed into a public spectacle. And Buckingham Palace, despite decades of experience, found itself in uncharted territory. What amplified the tension further was the juxtaposition of tradition and exposure. Normally, the palace's public reactions are measured, statements approved, photo ops arranged, narratives controlled. But live, detailed courtroom disclosures left no room for preparation. Observers could sense the strain among palace aides, the urgency of internal messaging, and the subtle but significant movements behind the scenes. This was a high-stakes balancing act, where reputations, legacies, and the stability of the institution itself were at play. Every viewer watching this unfold felt like a witness to history. No scripted press release, no controlled interview, no polished royal statement could replicate the immediacy and tension of Bower's live revelations. For a moment, Buckingham Palace, an emblem of continuity and tradition, was humanized scrambling, reacting, and navigating uncertainty in real time. The grandeur and calm often associated with royalty were replaced by urgency, strategy, and the raw challenge of confronting unforeseen exposure. What this means for the royal family. The fallout from Tom Bower's revelations is far from contained. While the focus has been on Harry and Meghan, the ripple effects extend to the entire royal family. If the claims about the divorce contract hold, the consequences are profound. It's not just about financial settlements or personal disputes. It's about the very structure of decisions, succession planning, and the image of the monarchy itself. And every clause Bower highlighted, every unexpected legal twist, has the potential to influence how the royal institution is perceived by the public, and how insiders navigate power, trust, and legacy behind the palace walls. Financial agreements are one obvious area of concern. Hidden clauses, unusual arrangements, or leveraged rights could affect the way resources are distributed and controlled. Analysts watching the proceedings noted that even minor misunderstandings or overlooked details in such contracts could create long-term complications for assets tied to the monarchy. Beyond numbers, there's the broader question of succession. If any of the revelations suggest uncertainties around lineage, inheritance, or official standing, the stakes rise exponentially. Decisions that once seemed straightforward suddenly require careful re-evaluation under public scrutiny and legal oversight. Public perception, too, hangs in the balance. Royal scandals are never purely private. They are dissected in the media, debated in parliaments, and discussed by millions worldwide. Bower's live testimony made it impossible for the palace to manage the narrative quietly. Any attempt to downplay the situation could backfire, drawing even more attention to the very details they hoped would remain hidden. Transparency, Bower argued, is no longer optional. It is essential. The longer the palace waits, the more suspicion, speculation, and questions will accumulate in public discourse. For Harry, the situation is intensely personal and highly public at the same time. Beyond the shock of discovering unexpected clauses and potential leverage in the divorce contract, he now faces the reality of judgment in the public eye. His actions, reactions, and decisions are under global scrutiny. Every choice he makes, whether to respond, remain silent, or negotiate, carries both personal and symbolic weight. It's a test of judgment, resilience, and the ability to navigate crises that blend private struggles with public expectations. For the audience, the lesson is striking. Even seemingly private legal documents, once combined with meticulous investigative work, hold immense power. They can uncover patterns, strategies, and hidden truths that transform the way we understand events, personalities, and institutions. What initially appears to be a routine legal matter can ripple outward, challenging assumptions and altering histories. In this case, Bower's investigation doesn't just reveal clauses on paper, it exposes dynamics, strategies, and the vulnerabilities of a family at the very center of global attention. Ultimately, the story is a reminder of how fragile reputations can be and how important transparency is in high-stakes situations. When legal intricacies meet media scrutiny, the outcomes are unpredictable, far-reaching, and sometimes irreversible. For the royal family, the stakes couldn't be higher. For Harry, Meghan, and every member affected, what seemed private has become public, and the impact is already reshaping perceptions, relationships, and decisions that may echo for years to come. This story isn't over. What Tom Bauer revealed is just the beginning of questions that may take years to answer. So Harry's world has been shaken, Meghan's strategy laid bare, and the palace is facing a challenge unlike anything seen in recent history. For viewers, the message is clear. Behind every public image lies complexity, and even the most carefully guarded secrets can surface. Bauer's work reminds us that truth often comes at the right moment, in ways no one expects. Stay with us as we continue to uncover what happens next. New documents, reactions from royal insiders, and the hidden consequences for all involved. The story is unfolding live, and every detail matters. Don't miss a single moment of this dramatic revelation. Subscribe, turn on notifications, and join us as we reveal the next shocking chapter of this royal saga.